Well, good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Wherever you're listening around the world, a very warm welcome from London in the UK. Here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. I go through every EV article online so you don't have to. My name is Martin Lee. This is your EV News Daily for Sunday, the 8th of April, 2018. And following yesterday's apology about catching a cold, today it's turned into full-blown man flu. Which, as you know, guys, ladies just don't get the sheer pain that we go through with man flu. I know they have the whole childbirth thing going on, but it's nothing compared to when you and I get the sniffles, when man flu strikes. I'm surprised I'm even able to talk today. So apologies again for being super bunged up. If I make it to the end of the podcast with man flu, it'll be a miracle. Well, let's kick off the podcast today. It's a good start already. Let's kick off the podcast today with a story about luxury electric cars. Let's face it, you and I probably aren't going to be buying a Bentley every day. They are at the very top end of the luxury car market. But the new Bentley boss, Adrian Hallmark, is adamant the future of the car market is electric. Well, Ray Massey has been writing for the Daily Mail newspaper here in the UK, talking about the Crewe-based Bentley, Crewe-town here in the UK, where Bentley is based. And Adrian Hallmark's been the boss there since February the 1st. And he told Ray the future is electric. The motor industry is facing the biggest shake-up in living memory. 20 years ago, I thought I'd had it sussed. Now, it's holy smoke. End quote. That's what Adrian's talking about as being the chief exec of Bentley, the first Briton in 2 decades to hold the top spot. So this article says in the Daily Mail, the German company VW, of course, own Bentley, and Adrian says it was a dream come true to be made the boss of the Bentley. Normally, you would think real high-end, luxury, sporty gas guzzlers, but the first thing he did was unveil the £140,000 petrol-electric hybrid Bentley Bentayga SUV, and it is gorgeous, and he says it is just the start of Bentley's full electrification. Now, Adrian Hallmark says, I want Bentley to lead the way in the delivery of sustainable luxury mobility. Other car makers making a big push towards electrification, some of them getting there sooner than others. Of course, if you exclude Tesla, who got there 10 years ago, the likes of Jaguar unveiling the I-Pace, and fellow VW brothers and sisters, I guess you'd call them, Audi, will be unveiling their e-tron very soon. Well, Bentley want to electrify as soon as possible because it can give them the luxury, the silence, because these big, gorgeous, very expensive luxury cars can run silently in the cities, but with hybrid power to give you the range that maybe over the next couple of years those kind of cars are going to need to be hybrids rather than full electrics. And with the Bentayga, they're making a really big deal about how intelligent it is. So you live, say, 40 or 50 miles outside of the city and you set your sat-nav to where you're going. They are making a big play on the AI abilities of it to go, okay, well, I'm going to need some electric power when I get to the city, so I'll run on petrol. I'll use the ICE first of all. Then when I get nearer the city, maybe I'll switch to full electric mode, and all of that done without you needing to think about it. So that's what Bentley are hoping will sell their luxury SUVs. Now, moving on, and Quartz magazine managed to write an article about something that I've thought about in the past, but I didn't really realise that I was thinking it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And maybe you've had this thought as well. It's like, kind of a passing thought. It comes and it goes pretty quickly, and it has crossed my mind before, but I've never really thought to kind of dig any deeper into it, which is why Elon Musk's big 2 companies that he runs at the moment, SpaceX and Tesla, one of them is so successful, and one of them is always struggling. And SpaceX have had an incredible year, and they've had an incredible few years actually launching their reusable rocket technology, whereas Tesla seemed to go lurch almost from amazing product launch to crisis to the next amazing product launch to getting real things on the roads, incredible cars, to then another crisis. But why did they do that when SpaceX seems to have it all sussed out? Well, Quartz over the weekend wrote a really interesting article actually about the differences between the space industry and the car industry, pointing out that the SpaceX project was all about building basically a cheaper rocket. There's a handful of customers in the world and a handful of people who make rockets, and they saw the idea of automation and not doing everything by hand as a chance to make a cheaper rocket. They also point out in the article that when you're making rockets, you get your deposits in the millions of dollars. And in the car industry, if you want that many deposits, you have to get hundreds and hundreds of customers to sign up for it. Also, they point out that only a handful of people do make rockets, and actually reusable and landable rockets has been a technology that's been around since the 90s. Just they were all lazy and nobody was doing it, so it was a reasonably easy. I'm sure it's insanely complex, but in the grand scheme of things, not as much competition as the car industry, where the likes of Volkswagen and infamously Toyota and all of their factory procedures and processes, which whole books and movies have been made about how Toyota automated the process. Hyundai and Ford and GM all making incredible cars, and have really had to, because of the level of competition in the car industry, like their A game sorted. Go and check out the article from Quartz if you are interested to know more about that. I thought it was really fascinating. Well, moving on to Chevrolet, and did they sort of accidentally announce a new model, a new brand new full electric model? There was a dealer meeting held in Las Vegas earlier this week, and Chevrolet teased a slew, according to Carbars, of future product, including an all-electric performance vehicle that looked like a crossover, according to one attendee who then went and talked about it on the CorvetteForum.com. GM last year was the beginning of this year, so there's going to be 20 new all-electric vehicles by 2023. Well, this forum poster called Nate Chandler of Van Bordel Chevrolet in New York said this. Another interesting announcement, there's a performance electric car coming soon from GM. Looked like a crossover. Alan Beatty was very clear in saying it's a performance model. If it is a crossover, this will be interesting, and that will be one to watch very soon. Maybe they've had the confidence boosted by the Chevrolet Bolt. Not so much the Volt, but certainly the Bolt, as a car that lots of people really rave about. Well, BMW's 8 Series has been spied in some photographs on public roads, mind. This is the 2019 model year 8 Series. It's coming back, and according to these new photographs, it's a beautiful car to look at, but there was no hint on whether it was going to be ICE only or plug-in, even a full electric. No, that's probably doubtful. However, one of the photographers did walk up to I think because it was in traffic, walk up to the window and stick their camera through the window and take a picture of the all-digital dash. And something that was lit up on the dash, which you can see in these spy photos, is Eco Pro mode, which is interesting, because if you've driven the BMW i3, you'll know that there's the different modes of regen and power and all those kind of things. So, were they spying a plug-in hybrid BMW 8 Series that was in Eco Pro mode? Even a full electric version? No, surely the photographers would have said it drove off in silence, and that's a dead giveaway. But something to look out for if you love your BMW series. Well, a couple of stories about trucks, and first of all, TCI Transportation. They're California-based, and they do leasing and renting of trucks. They've made the biggest reservation that we know about, at least, of the Tesla Semi at 50 units. Now, they probably have about 500 reservations. I was listening to the excellent Ride the Lightning podcast, which if you haven't listened to that yet, you must do, because it's just brilliant. And you should follow the host, DMC Ryan, on Twitter as well. And I think it was on one of his recent podcasts, he was estimating that Tesla have probably taken between $50 and $60 million in deposits and reservations for the Tesla Semi, which is not a big chunk of change, actually, in terms of Tesla budgets. But that is the biggest order that we know about of the Tesla Semi, and it'll give people who aren't getting their own one, maybe to lease one or rent one. And staying with semi-trucks, let's talk about Nikola Motors. Of course, they will be linked to Tesla because of the name Nikola Tesla. They are the company that are doing the hydrogen fuel cell semi-trucks, and they've done a bit of what some people say is a publicity stunt, and that is to give back all the deposit money that people had paid for their semi-trucks. They also said they don't need the money because of $8 billion in pre-orders. That is huge. Is that right? That's not a typo. No, I'm reading Inside EVs. That can't be a typo, because they know what they're talking about. $8 billion in pre-orders? Well, of course, they don't need the deposit money then. They said, we don't use your money to operate our business. We want everyone to know we've never used $1 of deposit money in the history of our company, with $8 billion in pre-orders, reservations. Who needs deposits? Anyway, they took to Twitter to say, all reservations will be refunded 100%, and you won't lose your place in line. That is definitely a dig at Tesla, isn't it, for taking deposit money? But then when you think about it, if the deposits for the Tesla Semi does if Ryan on his podcast was correct and it's between $50-60 million, that is, I hate to say the phrase, small change. I mean, it's not blatantly, but for Tesla, it is pretty small change, who burn through billions of dollars, but also have billions in revenue as well. I don't think they really need the money. 2017 revenues were 11.8 billion for Tesla on 2.2 billion of net losses. So, the odd 50 million of small change isn't going to be make or break, but that's how Nikola are spinning it with Tesla. All right, final story, and this one is all about VW's SEAT. It's their Spanish company. They make arguably cheaper, lower quality. I mean, look, SEATs are nice here in Europe. They make some really lovely, fast, sporty cars as well, but you wouldn't say they're a real premium brand like buying a pure VW would be. They say they're going to launch a new car every 6 months up to 2020 and hit their full electrification by 2020. And their new third generation SEAT Leon, that's like their VW Golf if you like, is going to be a plug-in and full electric by 2020. We do keep hearing that 2020 thing, but they've got to pull their finger out. They've got 18 months until 2020. We've heard probably for the last few years, by 2020 we'll be doing so-and-so. Not just them, but all companies. Well, thank you so much for listening today and bearing with me through the man flu. I would love to spread the word about electric cars. If you can, share this with at least one person who might be interested. Listen to every previous episode of the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, and the blog, evnewsdaily.com. You can subscribe for free and get a new episode first and free and automatically. If you want to take 2 minutes to rate and review, that would be amazing. And I would appreciate it as well, actually, because it really helps kind of get it up those search results. And talking of searching, by the way, had somebody on Twitter yesterday talking to me. It was Dan Neal. Hello, Dan. Dan Neal was saying, I can't find your Alexa skill. And he's right, actually. I went to the Alexa app and searched for it in there, and we couldn't find it. So it's obviously a slight problem with Amazon. If you go to Google, ironically, and search EV News Daily Alexa skill, it's there, but actually within the Alexa app, it's not. Give me a couple of days. Emails in with support already with the Alexa team, and we'll get that put back because it's definitely working. And I tried it before I came out here to record the podcast. On Twitter, we're at EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.